I, 35, been busy with work. I'm a nurse and taking care of my 6-month-old baby girl and her 6-year-old sister. My husband work night shifts 3 nights a week, so he's usually sleeping at home during the day. He got himself a PS5 a month ago. He started spending time playing. He used to handle some of the house chores. Now all he does is make excuses of how tired he is and how much he needs sleep. But he'd come home from his shift and starts playing. He drinks a lot of coffee to stay concentrated and awake. Also, he stopped eating properly. Keeps forgetting to do things I ask him to do. Like help fix his daughter's toys or take turns in changing diapers, etc. I started calling my mom to come help since he's been too busy to do simple things. He didn't like that I asked others for help and said I didn't have to. That he'll start helping again. I actually believed him and left for my 8-hour shift at the hospital, and before I left I reminded him of everything he needed to do, from feeding or changing diapers or cleaning our daughter's room, etc. He said don't worry about it, and then I left. I called him to check on the kids and he said everything was fine. I came home in the evening and I was shocked to see our 6-month-old's bed was put in the living room. Her stuff on the couch. While he was playing. She didn't stop crying. He said he didn't know what was wrong. Turned out he didn't change the diaper after I left. She was wearing the same diaper for 9 hours. He said he forgot, but he was busy playing. I immediately took care of her. I knew her rash was going to get worse after that. My 6-year-old's hair was a mess. He didn't brush her hair. The kitchen was a mess. I was livid, kept yelling at him for being neglectful and reckless, and literally forgetting about his own kids over a game. He said that I was overreacting and that it was my fault for not reminding him on the phone. I told him it was my fault for leaving the kids with someone who doesn't even brush his teeth. He got offended and left the house minutes later. His mom called me telling me that my husband stays up at night to make a living for his kids and that I was pressuring him by giving him more than he could handle. I tried to explain, but she kept lashing out, calling me controlling, and said I might be frustrated from my job, that's why I'm taking it out on him. I hung up on her and had to take care of all of that mess. Not the idiot. My first thought was to destroy the PS5. But that's really not the issue here. The problem is a father who would allow his screaming child to sit in a soiled diaper for hours on end. The problem is a husband who expects his wife, who works outside the home full-time, to come home and handle 100% of the parenting and household responsibilities. You don't have a partner, you have a third dependent. And an unhygienic one at that. Your husband committed child neglect, plain and simple. That's the biggest concern here, because of course it is, but there are other problems too. Not the idiot. However, you would be the idiot if you leave your children with him again. What he did is neglect, and that's how Child Protective Service gets involved. This is a come to Jesus moment. If he wants to be trusted to care for the children, then they have to come first, not dead last. I'm assuming he was able to feed himself and use the restroom throughout the day, so he is capable of prioritizing his needs when he recognizes them. He isn't forgetting your children's needs, he simply isn't prioritizing them because they aren't important to him. Holy crap, I would not allow him to come back. That's literally child abuse. Ask your mom to help with your kids and tell your husband he cannot come back until the PlayStation is gone. If you feel the need to talk with his mother, I would only text her one thing: if you care so much only about your son, would you have left him in a soiled diaper for 9 hours while he screamed next to you and then don't respond at all? Honestly, for me, I would not stay married to my husband if he did that to our daughter. My daughter Ava is 4 years old, had her young. My girlfriend passed away when my daughter was a baby, so I'm mostly on my own taking care of her. Before pandemic, I used to leave Ava at daycare. But since it's closed and not safe for her to be out, I started paying my mom to watch her weekdays when I work. My mom told me a month ago this lady just moved in a few houses down and she comes over to chat. I never met her until Friday when I got off work early and went to pick up my daughter. Ava was playing in the backyard, so we stayed longer. Then her neighbor friend came and my mom introduced us. The lady commented that it's so sweet I still make time to visit my mom and play with my little sister. I looked at my mom confused and thought she would have corrected the lady, but she was just standing there smiling like she agreed. So I told her, she's my daughter actually. She was just as confused as I was, but she just went, oh. My mom I guess tried to save face saying she loves my daughter like her own, so it's easy to forget. Anyway it was awkward, so I just got Ava and we went home. I have this week off, so not taking her to my mom's place. My mom called earlier because she's mad her friend isn't talking to her much before she came over every day and now she hasn't come since Friday. My mom said her friend assumed Ava was her daughter when they first met and she was embarrassed to admit she's her grandma because she didn't want the lady thinking bad about her. She says I didn't have to ruin it for her and it didn't hurt anyone to let her think that. We ended up arguing. My mom's mad I embarrassed her and now she might have lost a new friend. I'm mad she'd lie about something like that and didn't consider she could be confusing Ava saying stuff like that. She swears she never said anything in front of my daughter, but I don't know if I believe that. I get it, some people are gonna judge me for being a young dad or judge her as a parent, so I guess I can see where my mom was coming from. Even if I don't care, they can think what they want. But it did embarrass my mom, so I wanna know if I'm the idiot for saying something about it. Not the idiot. Your mom is a major idiot. This would severely bother me. I'm so sorry. Your mom was deceitful, which is probably why the lady isn't talking to her now. What's embarrassing about you raising a daughter that you had young? I guess it would be embarrassing for her to admit you have taken responsibility instead of just running off and forgetting you have a daughter. I just can't even understand her thinking. I'm proud of you and very impressed. Not the idiot. For someone who had a kid young and has been a single dad, can I just say what little you wrote makes it clear you are doing a great job. You worry about the impact on your daughter first and foremost and think things through at a very mature level. And honestly the fact you pay your mom for childcare is a simple thing that shows you take full responsibility for your child, which from the stories here at least, puts you ahead of the pack. Your daughter is lucky to have such a great dad. Not the idiot. Her friend is keeping her distance because she's thinking, who lies about something like that? This woman is clearly mentally unstable. If your mom had told her the truth from the beginning, everything would be fine. If she's afraid of being judged because her son is a single dad, setting aside the stupidity of that, setting aside that she should be bragging about what a responsible dad her son is, she could have said, her mother died, so I watch her for my son. How long did she think she was gonna get away with this? Telling such a lie is not only mean, but stupid. My wife, 30, and I, 32, we're both women, are new parents to a baby girl. This is pretty big since just a few months ago we had our hearts broken. Saying as we never thought that we'd have a baby so quickly, though we are 150% over the moon. We've also had a lot to learn as new parents. My wife's parents are perfect and amazing, they always help out, even if they only pop by for an hour. My mom, on the other hand, has a lot to say and butts in constantly. Outs when we ask for the baby back, talks like the baby, mommy wants to take you away from grandma, but I won't let her. Princess demands that grandma changes her into a pretty outfit, mommy put me in a boring one. I have no more patience for my mom's steamrolling, especially since she's barely acknowledged my nephew since the baby came home. She even objects to her name and insists that we change it or call her by a nickname she deems acceptable. My mom's behavior is nothing new to me, so I told her several times not to drop in without calling. If she's 5 minutes away or 30 it doesn't matter. I don't want guests dropping in to sit in my messy living room to play with a baby while ignoring my wife and I, that doesn't fly with me. On Sunday, we were going to my in-laws' house for brunch and time to relax. I told my mom 3 times when we spoke on the phone during the week that we weren't taking visitors this weekend and had plans. Wife and I were getting ready to leave. She was with a baby when I brought the diaper bag and stuff to the car. Who pulled up when my wife came out? My mom. I was already frustrated, so I went right up to my wife, told her to pretend that she's not here and don't even look at her. Mom starts talking at me, where are we going and why, how long we'll be, and I walk past her. Wife put the baby in the car seat, my mom said she was doing it wrong. As soon as my wife is in the car, I look at my mom and ask why she didn't call. Mom insists she doesn't have to call when she was already down the street. I told her that's not how this works. My daughter is not a show pony, and I am sick of her acting like she knows best while disrespecting my wife and I. Until she actually calls before she visits, we will not entertain her anymore. When we returned home, my mom was waiting in her car for us. I had a feeling that she'd do something like that. Wifey and I had agreed to just ignore her and walk right past her when she tried to follow us. It was a little rude of me, but I shut the door in her face. She called my cell over and over again waiting to be let inside, but I just let it ring. Needless to say, I have been flooded with messages from relatives saying that I acted childish and cruel. How dare I keep my daughter away from her grandmother? The only people on our side are my sister and in-laws. So tell me, am I an idiot for ignoring my mom the way I did? Not the idiot. You set a very reasonable boundary and she steamrolled it immediately. Your mom then whined to the family about your actions. I have had a mother-in-law like this, so I feel your pain. Stay firm with your boundaries and if you need to, give an ultimatum. You and your family deserve your time to relax and enjoy each other without anyone crashing your party. If she wants to be a part of her new grandchild's life, she'll need to respect the rules you set forth. Not the idiot. It's your daughter, not hers. You owe her as much respect as she owes you, and right now, she is not being respectful of your needs, especially when you told her many times you were not taking visitors. Good job standing tall for you and your family's well-being. Now you should probably take time sooner than later to very clearly explain to her where your limits are. All things considered, she is the one acting childish and the one that needs to grow up. As you said, your daughter is not a show pony. Not the idiot. You set a healthy boundary and enforced it. It screws that it has to get to this. Regarding the baby talk. If you let her in your child's life as she gets older, I would caution about her having time alone. These examples are what she is willing to say in front of you. I would hate to hear what she would be willing to say out of your earshot. That type of backhandedness and disrespect could lead to more issues down the road as your daughter is able to actually understand the words. My son, 16, was recently diagnosed with an eating disorder. It was something that had been going on for months, but no one picked up on it. Since being diagnosed, he has not left the house except to go to emergency doctor appointments or for some fresh air. Because of his currently fragile state, he has to be watched a lot, have his meals weighed and measured by his newly referred dietitian, and he is not allowed to exercise, which is killing him as that was his favorite thing to do. Before COVID, he used to go for runs and his high school gym with his friends, and the fact that he can't now is very upsetting to him. Since his diagnosis, we have had to be very careful about what we as a family say and do. Obviously, with Thanksgiving coming up, we knew it would be extra hard for him. For dinners every year, we would make a big deal about the food and family and friends, but with COVID we limited it to our family, me, my husband and my son, my parents and my sister who lives by herself. My sister is very socially conscious and decided to become vegan during quarantine. She openly talks about how much better she feels about it and basically talks bad about what other people eat if it's not vegan. With the diagnosis and my son's consent, we told our family what was happening and made it very clear not to talk about food in any context, including veganism. Everyone was super supportive and my sister asked if she found still bring her own vegan food. I said yes, provided she doesn't make a big deal about it being vegan and her own lifestyle choices. Cut to today. Everything was going well until dinner. I brought my son his food and we had a happy dinner until my sister brought up how her tofu was better than the turkey my son was eating. We all gave her sharp eyes and she then went on to say that there was nothing wrong with eating turkey, but tofu would make her feel less tired and stuffed after. Although my son tried to put on a brave face, he ended up running to his room and having a panic attack. I was so upset with my sister that right after dinner I told her to leave. She didn't respect my wishes or her nephew's needs, and for that she wasn't welcome. I packed up her stuff and told her to go, and we spent the rest of the night with lots of tension. My father claimed I was harsh, and my mother didn't say anything, but my husband agrees with my action. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Eating disorders are an incredibly serious issue that brings great risks to those who suffer from them. It was absolutely inconsiderate of her to behave this way, especially after being informed of everything. If this were my child suffering through this, I would have kicked her out too. You were not at all harsh, and she should think long and hard about the way her words have hurt your son. I hope she learns a lesson. I hope that in the future, your son can be surrounded by more supportive and compassionate people as he makes his journey through recovery. Not the idiot. I'm anorexic and I recently had to stop eating meat for quite a while, at a time when I'm trying to gain weight and hate eating carb-heavy food because of some negative things I read about the meat industry. The smallest things can put me off entire categories of food, and it's hard work to get myself back into them. Eating disorders can be deadly, and sometimes little things can make a big difference. You're watching out for your son, and your sister is inconsiderate and definitely deserve to be kicked out. From a guy who had an eating disorder as a teenager, not the idiot. Your sister was given a very simple task, which she should have easily followed. You had every right to kick her out, you were protecting your son from being further triggered. Good luck with supporting him in his recovery, it's a long road, but having your support will mean everything to him. There's a lot of stigma around males with eating disorders. I didn't have the support of my parents, I'm glad he has you. A few years ago, I had an excellent job and I paid for my then 16-year-old niece, Elsa, to go on a school trip to France that my brother and his wife could have never afforded, and I flew in with her to Amsterdam. We spent 5 days there, took the train to Brussels, spent a day there, and then I dropped her off to join the start of the school trip. Her little sister, Anna, yes, fake frozen names, was 8 at the time, and I said, if she did French in school and did well, I'd pay for her to do it too. Being vague for privacy reasons company, but 3 years later, the company I was working for had significant problems and went bust in a very quick time frame, and there was not even money for redundancy payments. Despite being an educated and qualified professional, I was a combination of and underemployed for 2 years before finally getting an okay full-time job, which doesn't pay what my old one did. A year into that job, I had to take quite a bit of leave due to a severe, now fixed, health problem. They held my job, but I wasn't getting paid fully because my income protection insurance didn't fully cover me because of a fine print technicality. My savings got all but wiped out, and then towards the end, I was having to put things like rent and groceries on my credit card. I'm only just starting to get back on my feet financially, and it was only a few months ago I made the final repayment on my credit cards and settled my debt from when I was living on credit during those times. I can't afford to take Anna on the trip or pay for the school trip later this year. My brother thinks I should put it on my credit cards or take a loan or whatever you have to do to be fair, but I'm really not prepared to do that after what happened to me and is really mad, and it's becoming an argument between us. I did have every intention of following though to do the same for Anna, but it is simply a case of crap happened with my career and health. I plan to explain to her what happened and that it is not a case of favoritism with Elsa. I do feel terrible about it, but I feel like that at 16, Anna is old enough to learn that sometimes life isn't fair and crap like this happens. Sometimes people lose their jobs, sometimes people have health issues, sometimes the stars will align for your sister or something else, but then won't align for you, and that's just life. If I got a better job and things improved, I'd be happy to do something for Anna. I don't want to promise I will be able to, I have already learned that lesson. My brother accused me of favoring Elsa, but it is not that at all. I would say I am closer to Elsa, yes, but that's because I lived in the same city as my nieces until Elsa was 10 and Anna was 2. Elsa used to come and spend weekends when Anna was a baby, and she remembered me very clearly after I moved, while Anna didn't really have those memories. Elsa now lives in my city for university and visits a lot. But I love them equally. Not the idiot. So in all this time your brother hasn't made any effort to improve his situation so he can take or send his daughter to France. He's just kicking back waiting for you to do it. I'm assuming he knows the times have been tough for you, and I cannot understand how much of an idiot he is for expecting you to go into debt to take your niece to Europe. Yes, crap happens and plans fall through. It's unfortunate for Anna. However, it's not her fault either. She's probably been looking forward to doing something with you for a while. I was going to say no idiots here, but your brother pressuring you to put it on your credit cards and go back into debt to finance it and making it an argument when you said no tips this into not the idiot. If it's that simple, why doesn't he put it on his credit card? You had good intentions and planned to do for Anna what you did for Elsa, but as you say, life isn't always fair and sometimes crap like layoffs and health crises happen. That's not your fault, and I agree that 16 is old enough to learn the unfortunately necessary life lesson that things aren't always fair.